to work, one whole day to play. Come on, everybody, wear your roller skates today. It's Saturday, 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 it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday,
Saturday with Renee.
Yes, welcome everybody back to Black Liberation Media, Deculturation, I Mix What I Like, Psychic Militancy, Millennials Are Killing Capitalism, as we all gather to pay tribute to this happy 250th anniversary of this wonderful. Peace, everybody. Please support all the platforms, do all the things, and yeah, welcome. That's it. Good to see everybody. That's it. This would be technically, what is it, episodes 144 uninterrupted of Saturdays with Renee?
That sounds
consecutive.
Right. I have to take your word for it. You don't want counting, so.
I just follow the thumbnail, so I hope it's right. I just add one each. But yes, welcome everybody. And I'm assuming these are members to Black Liberation Media, or
Methinks.
All right, very good. Welcome. And so yeah.
So this is all right. So first of all, I had the crazy idea. What was this, like 2 months ago? I was like, we should do a triple show and do 3 days in a row. And we've been trying to figure out like if it's plausible ever since then. But then, like 2 weeks ago, Lara texted me and she was like, let's do a Fuck the Fourth show. And I was like, okay.
Hard sell.
So hard sell.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Took a lot of convincing.
It was so much. She was like twisting the arm. And so we start plotting and planning. And then I found out that we almost got reported. We almost had an affirmative action report to the Hispanic caucus because Carlos was like, how are y'all doing that if you don't have no Spanish people on there? And so, because I don't like to get reported to anybody, we also are now blessed, and Carlos is joining. Who apparently Lara and Carlos, you've never met.
Yeah.
So look at us bringing the folks together.
What you gonna say? We got similar comrades and follow each other's work, but we've never been on screen together.
Oh, and I'm so appreciative of your work, Lara. Just completely amazed at everything you do, especially because the way I came into the left was very much, I was obsessed with TV growing up. So I was like, oh, why is that? What am I being programmed to believe? And, you know, with Bernays and propaganda and all those things, I somehow found my way to Fanon. But before that, it was all conspiracy theories. It was all like, how are they brainwashing us? I've mentioned, of course, I'm blanking out their name right now, but Intellectual Warfare, you know, a great book. And so what you're doing, I'm like, yes, thank you. What you're doing and the work is just like feeding that version of me where I'm like, okay, I wasn't completely out of it. I wasn't just a stoner. I was just, you know, building this hypothesis. There was more to that. And just thank you for your work. It's fucking badass. It's what it is, honestly.
Same here, comrade. Thank you. Yeah, you knew it in your bones. I think this is part of why we wanted to do today. Is just like we fucking know it in our bones, and this shit is shoved down our throats, and it's insufferable. Every year it's insufferable, but it feels like this year is especially insufferable.
Yeah, this whole 250 year thing is like, it's like extra, and I just don't. I can't. I just can't.
Jay's about to disagree. He's like, I cannot sit here and listen to this.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna defend. No, I just think it's actually really funny this year. Like I find this year to be really funny, just in terms of like trying to do things way over the top, right? And it's hot as fuck, right? Because U.S. imperialism has fueled climate change across the globe to such an incredible level that it's like 120 degrees temperature when you walk outside in Philadelphia and DC right now. So nobody is going to these massive events. I saw today that they're in Philadelphia, there was like legislation passed to do a time capsule, and they're putting it in and they were like doing all this stuff on it. And the time capsule is supposed to open 250 years from now. And I was like, what the fuck makes you think we're going to have a livable planet 250 years from now? Like, so I actually, it is always an insufferable holiday. I do, as a white person, love to blow shit up. So fireworks are something that like I do actually enjoy. But the, you know, this particular year, I just find it really funny because I think, you know, they're really, really trying hard to drum up enthusiasm for this 250 thing. And it just doesn't feel like anybody is really that enthusiastic about it anymore.
Well, I think we can start, Lara, with your billboard, because I think it's a great representation of
So we saw this driving from Philly to New York.
Because what?
I mean, this is what Jared's talking about. Like, it makes no sense on any level, on fucking any level. Like, this is the psychic collapse that even settler colonialism is having is so representative of, like, what does this mean, folks? And on what does it even
And it just doesn't even. So, I mean, the whole thing is supposedly about freedom internationally, right? Like, isn't that the point, that you got like freedom from British rule? So how is national champs a useful terminology? Because
you dunked.
Unless you're claiming credit over the indigenous original residents and saying that's the national championship.
That's the only way it works, and then you're confessing. That's a real confession.
True. And then, Lara, you mentioned
using a gift from France.
I think that's exactly what I was about to say, like with the statue that was given by France, because
like much later, right?
Right.
Like, I don't pretend to know everything about the settler colony. I was not born or raised here, but I do know that. It wasn't so.
Well, that's probably an advantage to learning about this country. Most of us who are born and raised here don't know a damn thing and are certainly not taught any of it. So
I did have to learn it differently, exactly. But I mean, but it says something about this. What is the psychoaffective shit that's already there, right? The Statue of Liberty already means something, whether or not it corresponds with the date, whether or not corresponds with anything. You could write anything else. You could write gibberish up there. And there would be a way in which they are 100% banking on the fact that there is an identification psychically and affectively with that symbol. And it means something very specific. Now, it means something different to a whole host of people in this country. But I think the people who put up that billboard with that caption think it means something really clever. I mean, it was just, I was flabbergasted. We were just like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Can I show you? If we're doing show and tell, I got something that I just watched.
Can I just add real quick?
Oh yeah,
I don't know
go
if
ahead, please.
If you caught Brianna Joy Gray, Jared Ball's good friend and associate, on Piers Morgan, and she brought up the Statue of Liberty, and I personally did not know that it was a gift. I knew it was a gift from France, but not why, right? And that it was for the end of slavery. And so again, just the U.S. public education system, absolutely at its finest, not failing anyone.
And it was just FYI, because I had to look it up. 1886 was the year it was gifted. So a whole 110 years after what they're celebrating.
Were they not sure? They're like, well, the Americans might pull back on this. We'll just wait. We'll see if it's...
Sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
No, I mean it's so I watched the first episode of the new Obama product, where he teams up with Larry David to retell the history of the United States.
I just want everyone to know that I'm constantly bombarded by people who choose violence. I just want y'all to be very clear.
Larry
this is my
David?
life. This is my life.
So
like Seinfeld, Larry David?
Like Seinfeld, Larry David. So they've teamed up, and this is a screenshot from one of the sketches in the first episode, where they go through the history. Oh my God, it's so bad.
I like the first sentence. This trash is perfect for the fourth.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I was watching. It is absolute trash. So if I were to play the video, and I didn't want to. I don't know if I could get away with it, even on my phone. Like I record on my phone Obama's introductory speech, and he comes out and he's giving this. It's supposed to be a comedic rendition of U.S. history, where Larry David, where there's a punchline where he's apparently making fun of Larry David, who was dressed as one of the so-called founding fathers. And but it's slick. I mean, they're meaning to be comedic, but he's still giving you all of the nonsense about the myth of origin of this country and what their claims it was here to do. And then they go into a series of sketches where you get Barack. So you get the Barack Obama opening, you get, Larry David doing his Curb Your Enthusiasm style sketches set through various time pieces in U.S. history. And you get Sam Jackson narration, so it's perfect. And
Why
then
he always got to be involved in this stuff?
Exactly,
man?
and he's doing the exact. I mean, he exactly. And then you get various sketches. One of the sketches is this one here, a retelling of the Rosa Parks story, where the punchline is. Well, first of all, you get Murray, the Jew, saving her, standing up for her, and saying you don't have to give up a seat. And he does this whole comedic thing about, before Rosa took the seat that made her famous, she had done it before, and it happens here. And then you see this, and the white man tells her to go to the back, and Murray, played by Larry David, is saying, no, why should she have to go to the back? She should be at a city doing it. It's like it's a standard thing. It's almost even funny. I admit that there are moments that I do laugh. That I get that humor does work on me. But the underlying messaging, well, it's not even underlying, it's gross. So the joke here is that Rosa gets to stay in the front sitting next to a white man, but then she has to suffer one who can't stop talking and is just talking a hole in her head, to the point where she happily goes to the back of the bus to sit with the rest of the black folks playing cards. It's so disrespectful and bananas and disgusting, again, given the context of where, after 250 years, never mind anyone else, black people are still not being addressed properly, being treated properly. And we get this kind of thing fronted, of course, again by Barack Obama. So I'm still wait. So the premise was not funny.
Stuck. Yeah, I'm like,
but
wait.
the style of his humor, I admit, is at times funny. So
in the end, we're supposed to appreciate sitting at the back of the bus.
Because what is the privilege of sitting next to someone who's going to talk a hole in your head?
So they were literally playing cards in the back.
Yeah. Oh, you hear them playing cards like they're gambling, and it's like a party in the back of the bus. And then she goes back to the party. Huh?
Of course it is. That's why they're back there.
Yeah, because wherever black people are gathering, forced or not, is going to be a party.
Yep.
So she's like, why wouldn't I want to? She's like, I'm happy to go back. And in fact, the last line you hear her saying is, deal me in. She's like, come on, y'all, deal me in.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Wait, so I didn't even realize, so I watched the intro because you posted it on your Patreon, and I sent it in the chat because in our email thread. So this is actually like a series of things where they're gonna like revision.
It's a series. It's a new Hulu series. It's Barack Obama back with his production company. It's an Obama
he's on
production.
Hulu now because wasn't the
they have a Netflix, and then they got a Disney deal. They're all over the place. All over the place. And remember, he has a long history and friendship with Harvey Weinstein, even having sent one of his daughters to that Weinstein film internship. So like he's I mean
it's just so problematic on every
It's also at a time, I mean, if you think about what it's trying to defang, at a time when there is political consciousness, when folks are in the midst of an uprising globally, when everything's falling apart in this settler colony, when empire is crumbling, you suddenly have a way to siphon off and make light of issues, right? I mean, Obama was always about this is a post-racial society. This is an extension of that, right? Here we are. Now we can make light of it. Now we're at the point where we can actually make light of, having to sit in the front of the bus or whatever and trade off your privilege for this. I mean, it completely waters down everything. It defangs it, it depoliticizes it, and it domesticates it in a very specific way. The other piece of this is this at a time, particularly when people are questioning Zionism at this level, are questioning the ADL's sort of role in this particular scene, by the way, where the ADL comes in and sort of puts pressure on Black folks and mobilizes and weaponizes and says, we helped you with that. Now you have to, stand with us, that this becomes what you focus on is not by chance. And Obama has always been, right, that part of a class of people that's going to mobilize these things. So again, kind of like what Carlos was saying at the beginning of like, what's being pumped into me and why, for us to, in addition to the rage about how utterly tasteless this is, how disgusting and racist and, completely shores up white supremacy in the most heinous ways, what other political project is at play? And for me, it's just like, why this moment? And why is it being greenlit? It's not, yes, of course, Obama's fucking behind it, but we know how these, streaming platforms work. Why this being greenlit right now? And this particular clip too.
Yeah, it's always done with comedy too. Sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's all, I think, a part of the Black excellence rebranding, and of course the rebranding of not just the country, but the history you're just talking about. I actually thought they were going to do something worse. When I saw the premise of that sketch, I was like, oh my God, they're going to do a Stanley Levinson thing. And they're going to say that she sat down and got from the Jew all the radical analysis that she needed to do. That's what I thought they were about to do in some sort of comedic. This was just as bad. But to the point that, Lara, you're pointing to, that disturbed and often misrepresented history, coming again off the tail end of the Henry Louis Gates series, even for that matter. It's gross. Yeah.
So I just was looking at Kimberly Margaret's piece on Obama, and she referenced Glenn Ford talking about or calling out Obama's 90%. And I had no idea about this, where he said that we were 90%, that Black people were 90% to equality.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that he said something like that on his campaign trail. And I'm like, how was he able to get away with saying, like, we're talking about comedy, like, there it is.
And he had the entire establishment behind him. He did. I remember that vividly. This election is like, this is the 10%.
I'm the
left.
10%. Yeah.
I'm the 10%.
I mean, why are we surprised? This is the same motherfucker who stood at a platform and drank poison water in Flint, Michigan to prove people this is the guy. Like,
well, at least he pretended to drink it.
Yeah, exactly.
At least twice, too.
He couldn't even, but like, that's the violence we need to remember. Like, yes, he bombed and deported people, and that's the shit that we of the global South will always fucking remember, the face of empire in somebody that could be sort of placate the masses in a particular way. And also his continued violence and purposeful defanging of movements. He did the same thing after George Floyd's murder. He did the same thing with Gaza. Every time there's an uprising, the guy intervenes in a particular way to defang everything. Like this, it's not accidental that this is happening. It's just disgusting and pernicious when you see it like this in terms of its full-faced propagandistic potential. It's just so horrible.
But Carlos, just real
Jay,
quick. Oh no, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry,
Jay,
go ahead.
Jay came off mute for a second. Did you have no? You sure? Okay.
Yeah, but it's okay. Carlos can go.
I think Dr. Ball was about to say something. Yeah.
I was going to ask you if while my friend Brianna was on Piers Morgan, and they were having this conversation, were there any moments where it was like this? It's
Actually,
endlessly funny to me.
There was. I think
he's looking for his Bible verse.
No, I think Breonna Joyner was looking for when Black people should have been proud of the president and the U.S. I think that's what she was doing, because that was so brutal to have a British person be like, to bring that up is just astonishing. And by the way, I never knew in the chat, which I'm assuming is a reference to Arrested Development, which is amazing. They mentioned like this whole skit kind of retelling of history is so played out. Like Drunk History did this years ago on YouTube. Eventually got picked up by Comedy Central. So it's a really tired bit. And so they're not even trying. It's real laziness. And of course,
what do you mean? What do you mean?
So the whole thing of like doing sketches about like certain eras of US history has been done tirelessly. And there was a show called Drunken History where comics would get drunk and tell their version of a historical event, and then they would act it out, right? And it was actually pretty popular, and it had its funny moments, but it's actual comics, you know, both acting and telling the story and actually drunk. Whereas this is just, I think Larry David is just phoning it in, very much his Bruce Springsteen moment with Obama. So
yeah, I mean, I think that y'all are making great points. I mean, this is the look, it's the liberal response to all of the disaffection with like this MAGA 250 stuff, to like say, hey, let's do some, you know, comedic retelling of, again, the civil rights story, which gets brought up again and again, especially through Obama, as like this, you know, progressive trajectory that liberalism is on, right? Which is such a, you know, absurd farce at this point. That's weird. There's two Renees.
I think it's
but
just
also
me
like,
and you now.
you're muted, Jared.
My bad. I took the wrong person off screen. My bad. I'm sorry about that.
This is part of why today's fun. Go ahead, Jake.
Well, also like
it's because
my parents were saying that
it's
Indivisible
broadcasting. That's what's really
there you
fun.
go.
hey, Drunk History. There we go.
drunk history. Drunk
Live and
podcast.
direct. He started early.
The Indivisible, right, and No Kings and all these groups are also doing these July 4th mobilizations right now, right? And so it's just such a sad, I don't know, the duopoly of parties and just the sad state of affairs of just like having to fight over these reactionary, you know, national myths and patriotism and stuff like that, and doing it in their own, you know, whatever their own language is. And obviously Obama has been the most successful sort of language of the Democratic Party over our lifetimes, honestly. I mean, significantly. And so, yeah, I mean, they can't let go of him, because he is that he just, you know, the combination that he brings to the fore is is the only formula that sort of mainstream Dems, big capital can really get behind, that has a broad reach. Honestly, like, people still will love that shit, as frustrating as it is for all of us.
Can I just answer Cloud here real quick? I was broken yesterday and I wasn't even watching. So I don't even watch. But I was keeping an eye on the score, and I was just hoping, because you don't understand, like Argentina, I hate them so much, and I hate their goalkeeper. I seriously think if I see him in real life like I did Newt Gingrich, it's going to be a problem. Like, I might really need help, because that dude, he pulled the monkey out when and was when they were celebrating, he pulled out a monkey doll and was mocking Mbappe and all of that other kind of stuff. But Cabo Verde, man, they almost had it, man. Had a golazo, almost had it, but them Argentinians, man, and that, God damn it, but anyway, so no, but I haven't watched the game yet. I did have my eye on the score, and I was upset. So sorry about that, Carlos. I know it bothers you when I dip into my liberalism.
No, I'm learning to soccer a little bit. What I will say is, so I'm planning something about that, actually, because the way that Mexico's been behaving themselves is very reflective of the real Mexican-centric and xenophobic and anti-Black culture that is so normalized and downplayed, and both in Mexico and the Mexican American community at large. So, I mean, they were doing the same thing. They were calling Ecuadorians monkeys, and they were outside till like 5 a.m. at their hotel before the game. Literally just abandoning all pretext of the game.
You better stop using that colonial language, that colonizer language.
Football. Oh, whoa.
You better stop
it. Spanish, the liberation tongue. Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know to what extent there's a plan, but I did have, if at some point, if we have time, I did want to ask this panel in particular. I was going to bring it up today. To the extent that I've been paying any attention, I did note that despite what happened here in Maryland with these recent elections, there's been a sense of a vibe online where there's a claim that the democratic socialists are about to take us into a new state of revolution, sweeping the nation, and causing
it'll be the same thing like we celebrating right now: smoke mirrors and over absolute nonsense. So,
but didn't I see James Carville say he's leaving the party? Like, even the old guard Democrats
but they have to do that. They have to do that. There has to be this presentation of this fight within the party, because how else can you convince people that something's actually changing, right? They have to present this like they're two sides and they're trying to change and they're going to change from within. And no one's actually paying attention to the fact that they're all Democrats. So there's only but so much that could possibly happen, because in the end, they're all Democrats, because democratic socialists are not socialists. They're Democrats. And so you still get trapped within the same thing, and it's going to be exactly what me and Jared been complaining about since election day ended in 2024.
I will admit, though, I hadn't been noticing, though. I caught a couple clips here and there, a couple videos here and there, and apparently they're arguing that this is a new wave, that old Democratic Party is being taken over by the Democrats. And that's apparently the new brand, and that they're saying when they see Carville and others talking about quitting the party, that this is evidence. And then they're defining democratic socialism as actual practical working socialism. So they're actually, I didn't know that. I did not I was not aware
I
of
mean,
the extent to which that they've
yeah.
come up with this apparent brand. I didn't know that
It's
they were calling it. Like, I was like, wow.
yeah. Well, they
So
had
you would
to
have to
convince
actually,
people.
yeah.
They had to convince people, right? Like, this is the trick. They have to convince people that there's actually something happening that is different than what has already happened. And as we've said multiple times, the Democrats simply have to be just left enough of the Republicans to say that they're doing something different. It has nothing to do with actually doing anything for the people, right? And I tried to explain to somebody, it's not that I'm mad about the little things that Mom Donnie's doing, right? But I want people to understand that the little things that Mom Donnie's doing is not actually effectual for the majority of people, right? So you always end up with the same problem, which is you get a little bit, and then everybody gets to be like, look at the little bit. And then the majority of people are still struggling, right? Like, for all the excitement about the New York Knicks, right? They didn't fix homelessness. They didn't fix people not being able to eat. They didn't like all these.
Shit, the way I heard it talked about, I was expecting a reparations check after the Knicks won the thing. I thought this was a national celebratory, like, I thought we had. I was like, wow, I didn't know we were free off of that. Progressive inertia. Yeah,
the other piece of this is it's always premised on saving the democracy. To go back to this day and why we want to fucking do this, the inbuilt coerciveness of all this bullshit is that it's always premised on stabilizing the settler colony and insisting on the future of this empire and this settler colony as it is. And that's what galvanizes people, because they're being asked. Jay and I did an episode about this before Kamala, right? Is that you are asked actually to identify as American first in all these ways that you are drawn into this electoral sham that's happening. But that's the point. And I just want to say to folks that, like, if the parallel were happening in the Zionist entity and people were arguing about saving the democracy, which they do, right? Quote unquote, liberal Zionists, as though that exists, that's their argument. We rightfully would look at that and say, this is ridiculous. These are irreconcilable points. You can't save a settler colony. But there's something about specific to United States jingoism that makes even folks who might be a different type of sort of configuration and more progressive, or let's say even leftist, really buy into this idea of saving the democracy, saving what we have left of this, saving this country. And that's the part that I want, like, I'm always interested in, is like, what are you saving? What are the identifications that you still have with this version of a settler colony that, to, what Jay was saying at the very beginning, that's like fucking destroyed the entire world, will not let us actually survive past, like, let alone forget 250 years where they're going to dig up that fucking time capsule. Like, how much longer? And that's the part that they bank on, is like, what is it that's being mobilized inside of people that they cannot disidentify with the entire project of what the United States is? And that, to me, is the more interesting question. It gets channeled through all this shit. Yes, a rebranding of the Democratic Party, but fundamentally, all of these things are siphons and ways to keep people identified with the constitutively failing and violent project of the settler colony that we now know as the United States.
I do want to just say, though, that forget the DSA, right, and the candidates for a second, but to speak about the voter behavior a little bit, because I think that this actually does correspond to something that people on the left should be figuring out all kinds of ways that they can organize around. Because, I mean, look, these candidates frame themselves in all kinds of ways, right? And being a candidate, particularly within the Democratic Party, there's going to be limits within which you're going to be able to articulate your message, right? Like, you can't be anti-American and be in the Democratic Party. It's not going to be a thing. But on the flip side of that, I do think that the reality of that there's a real reaction that people have to the genocide and to the United States complicity in it, and to candidates, frankly, right, who are to some level, to some degree, standing up and saying, like, this is deplorable and I'm against it, right? Ultimately. And I think that people are largely voting for that. And I think that that is like, I'm not a very big, as we've had these conversations before, like, I'm not a very big believer in electoralism as a vehicle around radical change, especially within the United States, but even very skeptical about it within like places like Europe, for instance. There is some possibilities that I hold for like global South countries around this, but even still, is it's complicated, right? You get Allende, you get Colombia just had their like there's such an easy way to also subvert democracy from empire, right? So, but bracketing that off to the side, I do think that it is telling that in these campaigns, you do have, the AIPAC coalition coming out spending millions and millions of dollars to try to demonize these folks. And people are like, fuck, I don't give a shit. Like, you say she's a communist, you say that she hates Jews, like, I don't care. I know what I see in the world, and I'm going to vote for something that I think is better than that, And so I'm not saying that as an endorsement of like the overall politics, but I think that it speaks to an underlying shift that is quite different from 5 years ago or so in terms of where people are at.
Right. But so here's the only thing, right? Is so like Mamdani was heralded for having previously said free Palestine, right? Which I'm not against anyone who can actually like utter the words, right? But then he literally went into a meeting, spoke out against someone running against Hakeem Jeffries, then endorsed Hakeem Jeffries, whose most famous speech includes the words Israel now, Israel forever, right? And so, and I know I get what you're this is more for the people who are watching, right? That people understand how diabolical these plots are, right? Because in the end, they'll keep saying, well, Mamdani said free Palestine, and they'll forget that he endorsed the man who literally is in full support of Israel. And those two things can't exist at the same time. And so it's the craziest, like, this is why people feel crazy, right? Because these are the things that are happening. And no one points those things out, right? Like they look at things in pieces, which, and like Leo was being funny in the chat about, right, him closing Rikers, because that's what everybody's saying. He's closing Rikers, but he's not closing Rikers, right? He closed an empty wing of Rikers and then transferred anybody who could have gone to that empty wing to another facility. So like,
so
yeah,
this is. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just want to quickly say that my comments are not an endorsement of the
politicians. Oh no, I know they
or
weren't.
The strategy.
I know they weren't.
No,
I
just want to clarify that because yeah, I'm sure you did, Carlos. That my comments are not an endorsement of the politicians or the strategy, right? But a recognition that the conditions for organizing are quite ripe in terms of where people's attitudes are, I think, and their desire for something different. Definitely. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So, but my thing is this has always been the case, and that the response is getting ever more sophisticated in terms of capturing those desires, and that's where. So just quickly, in terms of the Maryland example that I was giving earlier, this is exactly to Renee's point. The AIPAC just spent millions in these congressional primaries, and we're the bluest of states, by the way. So this is all there's no Republican real threat in this state to any of these folks. So it's all to keep the left wing, to the extent that such exists in the Democratic Party, suppressed, and any other so-called alternative party suppressed. But this is this is this brother here, Adrian Boafo, if I'm saying his name correctly, who claims to be a Democrat, is supported by the entire establishment, all this AIPAC money, and then look at this slick thing here. And regardless of how it benefited his campaign this cycle, the influence of outside money has been a focal point of Boafo's own campaign platform. Listed at the top of his democracy and civil rights agenda, one goal on Boafo's website is to overturn Citizens United and reduce the influence of unlimited corporate money in our elections. So, on the one hand, and I know it's not a perfect apples to apples, but on the one hand, he's saying, let's get campaign financing out. And on the other hand, he's taking millions from AIPAC, while on the other hand, claiming to be the advanced progressive wing of the youth movement of the Democratic Party, blah, 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 blah. It's just all very slick. That's all I'm saying. So it's like that's it. That was it. Go ahead, Carlos.
Well,
my bad.
I think this is why Lara's work is so important. Because like I put myself in a situation where I agree with what Jay is saying on the surface, right? Which is that he's endorsing Brad Landner, right? But what what I'm worried about is that the message has been so manipulated that what people seem to be agreeing with is from the jump incorrect. Because if they were out here actually calling for decolonization of Palestine, would the same amount of people be supporting it? If they were connecting the dots to the need to decolonize, this settler colonial project, would people still be supporting it? So that's my concern, that they've distorted, even the socialist angle. Mamdani was in front of, I forgot if it was like a state council thing, and he was asked by some like Eastern European immigrant politician that was going to own him by saying, have you ever, lived under socialism? Because I have. And Mamdani rebutted by saying, yes, because I live in AOC's district. And so like they're purposely, yeah, exactly. So they're distorting what socialism is. And I always say, like, don't give these people any respect by calling them by the chosen label this week, because they've been Democrats, they've been progressive, they've been all these, democratic socialists. Now it's the whole populist thing, left-wing populism. So it's always something, but at the end of the day, they're Democrats. And it's just a rebranding exercise. And we're seeing the push. They're pushing out the old guard for the new young people that are going to inspire people to continue voting for the Democratic Party. Now, what I'm concerned about is the way that they're normalizing this distorted language of supporting anti-Zionist, pro-Palestinian movements. But then you have Mamdani keeping Tish on. You have Mamdani endorsing Lander. You have, I think, Success for Life 03 said, in the past, people would not have voted for a Black woman who was a known communist over an incumbent. But what does it mean? How is she a communist? And I'm assuming you're talking about, I forget her name, Lisa something, or like
Daria Lisa, right?
Daria Lisa
Chevalier, yeah, something like
that.
Yeah,
the one that publicly apologized to Kamala Harris, the same way that Zohran Mamdani publicly apologized to the NYPD. So what does it mean that they call themselves communists or anti-Zionists at one point when their actions leading up to gaining power already exposes them? And what does that do to people normalizing their actions as necessary? That's what I'm worried about.
Mm-hmm. And for me, Jay's point about like exploiting those contradictions, it tells us at least something about where people are at, because they think, to your point, Carlos, I don't think they're commies. I don't think they're anything. But let's say people think they are. People think they are. And they're just like, cool. That makes them look cooler. Not this like evil thing, like that whole Kamala thing. Like that made people be like, haha, yeah, this is not going to work in the opposite direction. I'm not going to like Kamala more. This makes the other person look cooler, right? Those, I think, are places for us to remember, for us, not for people who are going to vote for the DSA, because we know their investment primarily is in restabilizing a decrepit, failing, miserable system that is identified with the United States settler colonial project. But for us to say is like, stop softening ourselves. That's the thing for me. If people are in their mind projecting this person is a communist and therefore I like them, we all know they're not communist, right? But that is a clue to us, I think, about stop even unconsciously softening ourselves around these things. Take the position that we want to abolish Zionism. Take the position that we actually are about dismantling all forms of settler colonialism from this settler colony to Palestine. Take the position that we, refuse any sense of how capitalism works. And we're divesting entirely from the idea that there are softer versions that are going to, like Renee was saying, attend to the unhoused community. We know that's not the case. So if anything, to sort of capitalize on those contradictions that Jay's pointing out is like an important organizing space. For me, it's an invitation to go harder. It's an invitation for us to go harder, to not soften our positions, to do more shit like this. We're just like, guess what? No, this entire premise is flawed and we reject it entirely, versus all the ways in which we have been seduced and invited into compromises. And let's face it, that's why the DSA exists. And the reason why the Democratic Party doesn't like them is because they don't think it's ideological purity. It's not because they are about corporatist ideological purity, and that's the only reason. It's not because they see them as an actual threat. They're just interested, just like every other party is, in ideological purity, and they see this as a threat to that. But again, I think let's take this as an infant. What does that mean for us about all the ways in which we're socialized to make little compromises in our speech, in the way that we talk, in who we organize with, in the things that we demand? This to me is clear. It's like, no, demand everything.
Right. And this is the problem, right? So, and Monty calls me out on this all the time, and I appreciate it because it makes me think about how I have to engage in these conversations with people consistently. So the rent's been frozen for 1 to 2 year leases within a certain time period. If you're already living in some, in rent stabilized, the number is 1 million. Right? That's the estimated number of people for whom the rent will be frozen for. There are over 8 million people living in New York City. And so the conversation, I think, has to start being about getting people to understand, and it's in part what I said before. Like, you're excited because, yes, you personally or someone you know personally may be directly impacted by this one thing that's been allowed to happen, or these 2 things or 10 things or whatever the number is going to be. But if we look at the larger construct of how rent is outrageous in New York City, of how houselessness is outrageous in New York City, of how, and it's like it's like you're bleeding to death and they brought you a Band-Aid. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's these, and I don't know how to do, like, maybe that's part of the work that I need to do personally, like how I work on how I get people to understand that these small incremental fixes may feel good in the moment that you get the small individual fix if it works specifically for you. But there's so many people that are left out of the fix that we're basically individualizing these things in a way that it literally just it completely deconstructs this concept that everybody should be able to live. Everybody should be able to survive in a place where they grew up because the rent is not crazy there. There should not need to be a rent freeze if you are allowing people to live in stable, in a place where rent is stabilized, because we're not allowing the people who own the properties to gouge their renters. And I don't, I think for me, it's, again, like, it's back to the same problem. Like, I say it, and I know what I'm saying is making sense. I know that what I'm saying is clear for people, but how do you get the person who literally right now can say, well, my rent stabilized for the next 2 years, so I'm good? How do you get them to understand, like, okay, so you're good for 2 years, but what happens if this does not get extended and the overall system is not fixed in order to ensure that you can still live and rent where you live? Because that's the larger problem, right? Like, yeah, cool for right now, But what happens when these 2 years or this 1 year that you get this stabilization ends? What do we do then? And if we're not looking beyond the individual excitement for the fix that is directly impacting you right now, like, how do we survive this? And that is the conversation that I need to learn to have with people, because that's the part where the disconnect happens. Because I want people to just stop being fucking selfish. Like, I want people to stop being like, oh, well, I'm gonna get this thing and it's cool, I got it. Like, okay, cool for you, but what about the other millions of people who don't get that fix? Like, what do we do for them?
And I think that's a really key piece, Renee, because there is a big difference between organizing people around their own self-interests and organizing people around like solidarity and, interests beyond their own, right? And I mean, I guess that's part of what is interesting to me about this wave, not as, again, I've already said what I had to say about it, but is this idea, right, that um it's not necessarily in people's self-interests. Maybe they think it is. I don't know. For bombs to stop dropping in Gaza, right? That is an expression of actually at least caring, at least being empathetic. Maybe not supporting liberation, right? But at least being empathetic to another. But I do think that, and I have not studied this in depth, so feel free to come at me in the comments or whatever else. But I do think that DSA, from what I have seen in the context where I have encountered them, it's largely quite petty bourgeois as in terms of its membership, right? Largely white, professional, managerial folks in nonprofits, people that are in, university settings. And I think that, look, I lived in New York from '05 to 2010, and it was undergoing drastic changes in that period of time. And it's unrecognizable to me when I go there now. I mean, I went recently to see Mtume's, screening, and like the only people, almost the only people of color, but certainly the only people who weren't like white or Gulf state folks were at Mtume's event. And I'm not saying, I know there are people of color in New York. I understand how to read demographics and so on and so forth. But if you are in Manhattan, right, and if you are going around different areas in Manhattan, it is so much wider and so much richer than it has ever been. And I think, obviously, Mamdani is not mobilizing the billionaires. Like, that's obvious. Like, whether he's a socialist or not, like, they don't like his ass, right? But he is the base of that. I mean, and I'm sure they were able to get a working class, folks involved in that coalition to some extent, because you can't win an election without that. But I think that even when you talk about rent stabilization within New York, a lot of the people who have had rent stabilized apartments historically that I've experienced when I was in New York were like pretty well off a lot of the time. Like, because it's not easy to get into those situations. And usually it's like inherited or family member and so on and so forth. And so I don't, I just say that to say, I think that there is a thrust of a lot of the DSA movement that is like kind of like professional folks whose lives have gotten more difficult for sure due to the kind of, reproletarianization, whatever we want to call it, right? The declining wages of that professional tier. But then the organizing is very often around like the needs and desires of that kind of strata of folks. And I don't, again, people might have examples that Mamdani has done that have truly benefited a lot of working class New Yorkers. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that I think that a lot of the things that do happen go back to kind of support that petty bourgeois base. And I think that's an interesting sort of context. I mean, like, Sakai in Settlers talked about this kind of the settler position within the US, the settler working class, as essentially a kind of petty bourgeois worker. That it was, I mean, it's another way to talk about the question of the, what do you call it, the labor aristocracy, right, on a kind of broad scale within the United States. But I think that is an interesting question, because I do always come up with this just question like you raised, Renee, of what does it mean within empire to organize people around their own interests, and how different is that versus organizing people within empire around the interests of other people, especially when you think about that more broadly.
So just to jump on that,
Go ahead.
I do think it's necessary to have a cultural revolution, because the disease of individualism is so rampant, where by simply having more crumbs, that's enough to like turn your back on the very same people that were your neighbors, your friends, because now you have some sense of safety and security. Like growing up, renting rooms, garages, and then finally finding stable renting, and kind of seeing how comfortable that can be, but then comparing it to people who may own their home and how they treat renters in their neighborhood is always hilarious to me, because I'm like, you barely have a little bit more, right? Like it is a sad thing that I think requires a massive cultural shift to have a more compassionate, sympathetic, and international approach to what is necessary to truly bring change. I think it's necessary to look at the DSA as a threat. And I know there's been some like pushback about that, but the reality is that they are rebranding the Democratic Party by giving these crumbs. And it feels like they're almost like the drug dealer that's keeping you strung out, right? So that you feel content. And Lara, please correct me if that's like a horrible or bad analogy. I'm sorry, but or Dr. Ball in that case, if throwing it back. But what I'm concerned about is that there's nothing socialist occurring. This is what the Democratic Party should have been doing. And so now, because they're feeling the pressure of this growing reactionary populist movement, now they have to put something on the board. But it's not socialist. It's simply what a proactive and attentive Democratic politician should have always been doing. So in terms of Mamdani and the capitalists and the billionaires, Alexander Soros, not to get all conspiracy, but Alexander Soros, the son of the main Soros, was like buddies with him. Alexander's a Zionist. They've taken photos together. He donated heavily into his campaign. So I just don't buy Mamdani being a threat. I think that while there are competing elements within the Democratic Party, the younger generation of those people, the sons, the heirs, the nepos, know where the wind is blowing and know that there's need for a marketing shift in who the current politicians are. Even going back to Obama, we're going to have Obama for at least another 3 decades. We're going to he's so young in comparison to the rest. He's going to be around, for a long time. And it's going to be awful. And just imagine Mamdani. I'm grateful that he ain't a real American like some of us, and he can't be president. But if he could, I mean, he'd be the next Obama. He's got the smile down. White people feel comfortable around him. And yes, the DSA is white as hell. Doing the little bit of union organizing that I do out here in LA County, you see more brown faces, but at the end of the day, the big players are still white people. And it's a shame that a lot of these believers, true believers, that are young, brown, working class people are investing so much energy and time into essentially the Democratic Party.
So, but this is why I keep coming back to this, and I've been struggling listening to all of you just now. I think, and where I even might slightly disagree with some of you on this, that I think the energy in terms of organizing the so-called other masses or whoever is misplaced at this point. I think those of us who claim to be of a certain politic need to do more to organize ourselves into some sort of clarity, particularly around elections. just to have one page. Like, yeah. So because yeah, I don't want to just ramble on, but I would love to see some more energy towards that, because what it looks like, admittedly, more and more from the outside as I feel I'm becoming, it just seems as though pockets of well-intentioned, highly intelligent, committed people are just working in small, atomized spaces, targeting at sometimes overlapping audiences to do very similar things, but ultimately to build their independent organization. And while I understand that, and in many ways want to support that, I think we end up not evolving some sort of larger organized effort. And I do think if we just said, just in terms of elections, from the national to the local, we're all agreeing to be in this one formation with these 3 to 5 bright lines, salute to Glenn Ford, platform planks, and just say that could be applied nationally and locally, and then say these are the bare minimums, all of which would be to the far left of the Democratic Party, because then because ultimately what I see them doing is admittedly, I'm learning this these atheist debate spaces, but the no true Scotsman fallacy. So the Democrats get to say that with the DSA, to say, oh, no true Democrat would claim this socialist nonsense, and then the DSA gets to point to the actual leftists to say no real socialist would be talking about splitting from the Democratic Party. That no one would do that. And then meanwhile, the rest of us in this sort of vague, amorphous, even larger mass of disorganized people are out here competing and fighting, and it's and then I just saw Governor Wes Moore sit down and do one of these Jubilee things against non-voters. So it's like,
No, he didn't.
Yes,
No.
he did. And he just, so he's like, and then for what little I've seen, it's resetting the whole thing from, are you going to vote for Democrats or no, not vote at all? And the even the concept of alternative party formation isn't even mentioned. It's you're either voting for Democrats or you're nothing. And
Yeah.
I think that's where I would like to see more of us step in with some clarity in organization.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down. That's the condition. You're basically pointing out the condition that in the end, even when we have these conversations and there's a whole lot of fucking, energy towards it, and we saw this with Kamala, that in the end, when it comes down to it, people abandon all this shit and they buy into the lesser of two evils bullshit. And for me, that is an issue of really practicing what does it mean to do part of what you're doing. And Carlos, I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's power. That's how power works. That's not conspiratorial. Power will work like this, and it presents all these different options. But at the end of the day, you are asked to make one decision, and that decision is always coercive. So to your point, Jared, I think I do think we need to go hard. I do think we need to make these decisions, irrespective of what ends up happening. I think the practice of coming together and saying, here are the non-negotiable demands that we have, because nothing is viable outside of this. And at the end, what does it mean to see, do we bend our will at the end of the day? And why do we do that? Is it out of fear? To track that shit is actually really important. And here I'll say this, in real time. There are folks in the chat that are really upset about us going up against the DSA. And what I'll say, or let's say, fuck the fourth. We need to examine why it feels like we need to defend the legacy of these institutions that are going to be fine with or without us. What are the identifications that make us go hard, irrespective of the reality of one person in these organizations or not? Think about what you are being pulled into, that becomes that is what you are consolidating your energies around, when we know that power will stabilize and defend itself, irrespective of whether or not our energies are there. That's a moment for us to really examine what continues to be lodged inside of us that we can't tolerate even a critical examination of these issues or where they might be coming from in the context of a settler colony that is the most vicious empire in the world, committing multiple genocides, kidnapping a sitting president, and you're still invested in the DSA as a formation, and like that's where you're offended? That's something, and I'm not even like shaming. I'm just saying that's the invitation to what Jared is saying. I think part of the reason why we're atomized in all of this is that our identifications in that regard to cohere around things that are presented to us, rather than allow what emerges as limitless imagination of formations that can come that we might not even know right now. Like, I don't pretend to know what formations can come, but what I do know is that if we're invested in the formations that are right now, and we spend all of our energy defending that shit, it's even in spaces like this, that becomes where what could possibly emerge is not going to emerge. And that is the
Yeah, listen.
Sorry. So I'm like, first of all, I missed that people were mad in the chat, because I'm like, is this because they don't come here on Saturdays? Maybe they're from someone else's channel. Like, I don't know how anyone joined this today and thought we were going to be like bigging up DSA, because that's wild to me. Anybody would think that. But so I'm like, what's happening in the chat? I missed all of that. But Lara, I think also this also feeds to one of the things that we talk about all the time, which is this consistent push to stabilize these systems that already exist under this false notion that this is the best we can get. Like, the best we can get are these fake socialists who are actually Democrats pretending as if they're doing things for working people, when the reality is they're doing just enough for the smallest amount of people so that they could present as if they are to the left of another party within this duopoly that's doing also nothing for anyone, right? So I always go back to George Galloway, shout out, he doesn't know me. One of these days I'm gonna get like a note from him that says, like, I hear you quote me all the time, but two cheeks of the same ass, people, two cheeks of the same ass. That is what we're dealing with. And
that was your hashtag on one of the shows.
Absolutely, because it is really the perfect explanation of it. Like, people say, like, two wings of the same bird, but I think they're all asses, right? So I feel like two cheeks of the same ass is actually a better descriptor for what we're dealing with. So I just, I think one of the things that people have to really kind of contend with is exactly what you just said. Like, why do you feel the need to be mad at me for pointing out something that, okay, maybe you don't agree with it, but is it not my right to point it out? And aren't you, in some ways, if you are a person who is truly invested in improving the material conditions of people, shouldn't you be interested in having a conversation about why that critique exists, right? Like, why is the jump always to shutting it down and don't, like, I don't watch Brianna too much, and I someone sent the clip of the person having the meltdown, so I know this is a thing that happened. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but like, if the response to critique is to melt down, to get upset, to say you're wrong, and not to engage in the conversation, then aren't you just as much of a psyop as everybody else? Like, isn't that the reality of the situation? Like, if you're unwilling to investigate the critique of your own organization and why these things are problematic, if you just want people to shut up and just go along, right? How is that any different than anything else that we're encountering on a day-to-day basis when we are going up against this system that just wants us to shut up and die working so that the rich people can maintain their property?
Listen, I skipped ahead to when the DSA dude left Brianna's show. I just skipped ahead to the end, to the part where he left, just to see what I thought were going to be the fireworks. And if you're a DSA supporter and that's your kind of rep, you pay attention to what's being said on the screen right now, because that dude, because Brianna, well, she was just like as nice as could be. You know, I'm just trying to raise questions about some, and he was, and then he just left. Like it wasn't even some fuck you and I'll slap you in the mouth. You come with me with some vote for Mom Donnie one more time type shit. It wasn't even any. It was just like, and then he just dipped. And this is a Zoom call. Like this is not in person. Like how, this is like you can't even. Where is the real organizing going to be? Like that's where I was looking at it. Like you're supposed to be. I'm watching all of these clips of people telling me the rise of the DSA and the wave and the new, and then this is all you can take with no disrespect. Little Brianna from thousands, hundreds of miles away on YouTube is saying, hey, can we just talk about another way? And you can't even deal with that. If anything told me I can't rock with them, I was like, that would be it right there. So please, if I don't know what's going on in the chat or elsewhere, but please, you all, check yourselves, please.
And there are plenty, I will say, like, there are plenty of DSA folks that I have encountered over time who are willing to have this conversation. So if you're taking my statements personally, you are the problem. Right? Like, if you think what I'm saying is a problem, you are the problem, because a person who is legitimately in there and saying that they're trying to fight to make the changes are taking the critique in and having these real conversations about how they can engage in a way that's going to be beneficial, not just for themselves, but for their organization and for the people their organization is working with. So, be mad.
I think they're just soft, and they're used to being the more, radical person in the room, the most radical person in the room. So they're not used to getting any pressure from their left. And Brianna isn't even a socialist or a communist or an anarchist, right? She's like a third party supporter. So even that is too much for them to handle. I always remind people that when AOC was first asked if there was a genocide happening in Gaza, in Palestine, she refused to answer. She said that word, back when it was still MSNBC. And people were already calling Joe Biden Genocide Joe. So it was well established by that point. And she was waiting to get approval from Mama Bear, Nancy Pelosi, or who have you. There was pro-Palestinian activists that were hounding her down after she had like a movie date with her white boyfriend. And she was so upset that they dared to question her. And they were simply saying, just call it a genocide. And she was straight up lying. She said, I did. But she never said it in that moment that it's a genocide, to the point that she accused them that they were gonna clip things out of context. And she even said, that's fucked up, man. That's fucked up. She even used her New York language, very crude, very down to earth, a bartender, how they talk. And so it's hilarious to me that the moment these people feel any pressure, they break, because they're not in the rooms like that. And again, back to Jay's point, it is a predominantly white organization, because it's not a party, it's an organization that is meant to like funnel people into a Democratic Party. And they're not used to having these arguments. They're really not. They're used to being around respectable, professional people that know when to stop pushing. They only went one round. I watched almost the whole thing. And when he starts crying about it, and he literally says, we're having a meta conversation, I wouldn't put this out there. At no point did he say, hey, off the record, if we're going to talk about this and that. He was crying about a meta conversation that was going to, I don't know what his issue is, his deal is. He started crying about, I have real work to do to talk about how communists were persecuted, this and that. You're not a communist. And if you're documenting the real persecution that they were facing, and you can't handle a simple fucking interview, you're going to break and snitch people out the first chance that any actual real threat is applied to you. So again, these people are a fucking joke. Me and Dr. Bob might disagree about the PSL, but I can, be happy that we agree about the DSA, because they're not even a fucking party. They're a rebranding marketing organization for the Democratic Party's future. That's as simple as it is.
Just for the record, the specific thing was I disagreed with what you were, with the level of information you were bringing to your public critique of the PSL. But
look, Look.
I just
Brian
wanna be-
Becker's cool. I'm sorry. I take everything back.
This dude is diabolical with these
I just love stirring that shit up. I'm not gonna lie.
associations. But fair enough. I do,
But at least they're a party. They're a party.
Anyway,
It's something.
At least they're a party, and at least
yeah.
they have a clarity around their claims. And I do admit I appreciate their intake process, which I could not pass. But what I do disagree, and this is what the point I was just getting at, where I think I disagree with them and everybody on this point in terms of electoral politics, is that rather than everybody using them to build their individual parties, I think it needs to be used to build a broader actual left coalition. And that's where I think parties like the PSL, the Green Party, and everybody else, on that actual left, or to the extent that they are actual left, could form. And those of us who are not in very associated with either one, just some sort of I don't know, incubator, intake, something. But that's fine. You know what? But I do appreciate this, and I appreciate Carlos's constant jabs, pun intended, et cetera, and so forth. Because as I do age and do feel myself becoming less aggressive, there does need to be people with that vigor and that vibe, and who are to mine and others' actual left. So at least, if not in theory, at least in practice, because at least theoretically, I don't think there is a left to where I am philosophically, but in terms of practice and performing an analysis, there is. So I appreciate it. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. Keep going, young man. Keep going, man.
Don't worry, Dr. Ball. I'll never be able to bench 325 or whatever impressive
435 with a broken shoulder. And no spot. No PEDs, no spot. Off the rack.
Just pure Navy training. Just pure American grit, brother.
just exactly.
I just
beer, pizza, and a bench press. I'm trying to tell you.
Point out that Monty never misses a moment to tease Jared, and I'm here for it, because this is the response to you not passing the test.
That's funny.
And how that's probably the best thing that could have politically happened.
And to be clear, the test was they have the test, the specifics around the test that I'm talking about was they have issues with what they call dual solidarity.
Dual carding, right?
Well, they were calling, in my moment, they were calling it dual solidarity, but it was basically the same thing. And I was not willing to give up my associations elsewhere, including with the AAPRP. So that was it. But I appreciate that. I think organizations should have that level of, at least clarity around what they want and what they want to do. I do think that I would suggest an amended tactic as it relates to electoral politics, though. That's about it. But yeah. And by the way, I don't want to overdo this, but because I don't know what's been said publicly or what's out there. But Eugene is in some form of health related recovery. But I have reached out, so I know he's here in Baltimore, so he's good dude. That's my guy. Despite what Carlos has to say about the PSL.
Carlos is just looking away. He's like, squirrel. It's like, I'm not fucking doing it.
Nah, he's like me. He saw the oh man, stream.
That's why I don't get invited anywhere.
I had a thing for that. I don't know what happened to it. Never mind. Sorry, everybody.
I will say, when Lara tells you need to self-reflect, know that it's not like Misha talking. It's not Dr. Bob being petty. It's not Jay with his really concerning and serious voice. It's not Renee, cracking up and laughing at you. It's a professional telling you to get fucking reflecting. All right.
No, it's a comrade. This is not like
right.
professional shit.
Sorry,
This
sorry.
is
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
right? That's the thing. No, but it's true. We're coming. What does it mean to have these public facing conversations? And here we are. We might be on different positions on this, or articulate it differently, or have different philosophical traditions or histories that we. But like, this is the point. We come together and we're just like, listen. We're all rallied around building a world that doesn't look like this fucking hellscape, and in not disavowing and lying that anything that has been presented to us at this point. I think that's your point, right, Jared? Is like, anything that's presented to us at this point that's not it. That's not the point. And Jay's point is, let's pay attention to where people's, at least I think, Jay, correct me, where people's energies are going, and exploit that, mobilize that, use that energy, and go in and, to have the conversations Renee was saying, right? Is like, what is our responsibility? How do we continue to antagonize? How do we not fall prey? This shit is ferocious. We're going to fall prey to it. What are the ways that we can continue practicing not doing that?
Let me throw, Lara, when briefly at your book talk in Baltimore the other day, which was dope, and people should check it out. And it was great to run into folks and see Jay and others as well. I had mentioned something to you that I wanted to ask you about, and I'll just bring it up now. And I was trying to ask you because I had said that I had started to I had tried to find and start reading Fanon's clinical papers that had come out some years ago that I had not read. And I was talking to you about this one section, this one part, in the version at least that I have, and I think you were correcting me on I don't have the full version that I need to have, but in the TAT Muslim women sociology of perception and imagination section. And I admit I'm late. I'm supposed to have written an introduction to Kevin Rashid Johnston's forthcoming book, which is very dope. I hope everybody gets it when it comes out. The artwork, the poetry, support political prisoners and the ones that are being made ongoing, and for those who like good writing, it's got his poetry, and it's got a much better piece in there from Joy James. So somehow I still have to submit some shit, and I'm struggling. But I'm trying to work in this thing where I make reference to your talk about psychic intrusions, and then this piece about this this experiment or this study. And if so, maybe you could say a word about it when I finally finish rambling here in just a second. But the point I'm getting at is that that Fanon and his colleague are engaged in studying Muslim women colonized by the French in Algeria, and doing this study, showing them cards akin to the Rorschach test, but I know it's something much, it's like an elevated version, whatever. And they're assessing the responses, and it's dealing with this question that I know he ends up describing in Wretched of the Earth, where he talks about the goal of the colonizers to kill even the dreams of liberty among the colonized. So, and I think about that all the time when we're trying to figure out, in terms of our own political imagination, where do we go? What do we do? How do we conceive of a new world? This, that, and the third. And then there's this moment where they talk about, and this is exactly the point you raised with me that night at Red Emma's, where they present these Muslim women with cards that depict various things in society. But it's not until they present these women with a completely empty card, a blank card, that the political imagination of these women is actually triggered. That the images of Western white colonial society was just creating various other forms of trauma, and was not inviting them to actually assess beyond pointing out objects on a card what was actually happening. So then they wrote that in response to this blank card, the imagination was able to develop when the presence of the white card when in the presence of the white card, since it was no longer impeded by foreign cultural fetters, not running up against a world that excluded them, our patients formed a rich and varied stories. So in the context of this discussion, this is what I'm thinking, that if we can offer up the blank card of radical political, if in this case limited to electoral political options, the blank card of a different space, the political imagination of people might start to get piqued and triggered in a way that they're not under the Democratic Party and the DSA, who are only going to present cards of traditional colonial forms and so on and so forth. So
that's right.
Okay, good. That's it. Stop there. That's it. I'm clipping it. That's right. I'm ending it. Stream over. That's it.
What else am I gonna say? That was, you just laid down some fucking analysis. Let me just give the background history for folks to see why this is such a brilliant fucking analysis. So the test he's talking about is called the thematic apperception test, and I'm gonna link it in the chat for folks so you can see what these actual cards look like. They are sort of 1950s white. You can see, I mean, they look like, you know, a period, you know, film or something like that. And these are used, they have zero validity. They have zero grounding in actual quote unquote evidence, even for people obsessed with evidence. But what they do is they're supposed to generate a story. So psychologists will sort of give this to somebody. I was trained to do this, by the way. You give this and you say, you know, what story do you see with a beginning, middle, and end? So let's already sort of talk about the fixed frame of how narratives unfold. That is incredibly a settler formation about a beginning, middle, and end being the only way that a narrative is an actual real narrative. And then that gets connected to, if people aren't able to do that, that's pathological, because there's a particular temporal, there's a linear way that things unfold. There's a temporal stamp that you're talking about. The idea is that these are neutral photos, which anybody looking at these cards, then there's nothing neutral about them. They're completely ensconced in the particular social order of things, and that they will project onto them. So they'll tell a story. There's no fixed story around this. One of the cards, there's like 50 plus cards. One of them is a blank card. The amazing thing about the Fanon article you're talking about is that when he was giving these to Muslim women in the hospitals that he was at, they would look at these and tell him, you are asking me to do something that is in God's will. It's written. I can't predict the future. What are you talking? You keep asking me what the ending is. You're telling me to predict the future. That's against my values. In any other situation, this would be read as a pathological concreteness where people aren't able to metabolize or mobilize an imagination. That's how it's read. When the blank card comes up, all of a sudden you see this quote unquote lack of capacity open up entire. There's no lack of fucking capacity for imagination. There's a way in which when you take away the parameters that you are insisting on, and this is what I mean about a coercive relational demand that is meant to be unspoken, those cards and you asking people to project onto them with a fixed premise of what they mean pathologically, psychologically, relationally, culturally, politically, but you don't say that. And then you localize the pathology in somebody if they break free of that, if they don't have an ending or a beginning or an end, or they forget the affect or the emotions involved in these cards. That's what's amazing about what you're saying, is like, what would it mean for us to reject the premise entirely, break free of the fixed and foreclosures that these systems present to us? And the blank card being precisely what we've been taught is that knowing and sort of leaning into and giving ourselves up to the fact that things will emerge when we divest from the fixed nature of these structures that are never neutral. I don't care how fucking leftist or reformist they are, they're never neutral. They are asking something of us, and they fundamentally are asking also for us to disidentify from other things. There's a political wager involved. You don't get to be part of the DSA and just be like, oh, and then I'm fully about abolishing the United States as well. No, you're making a fucking political wager. And that political wager is one of stabilization. But if you have a blank card, all that shit's out the window. Then it is on us also to then be like, we have to continuously work and struggle for what emerges out of that blank card. But at least if nothing else, it determines the capacity and the capaciousness of what might be there rather than the sort of frame that pretends it's not a frame. This is the whole thing about the fucking fourth. It's like based on innocence. That's the entire thing of this entire colonial project is it relies on innocence. And that's why your analysis is brilliant. The end.
Again,
He about to
show's
clip that
over.
too.
Let's wrap.
He about to clip that too.
Oh, that's getting clipped. And it's going to end right there when you was right.
Y'all see why I
time.
invited myself? Y'all see why I had to be here?
No, but thank you for that. That was
And I
yeah.
put the link to the
Oh
cards
yeah, let me let me pull this up real quick. Yeah. Because I haven't seen these either. Oh
Right, I'm
wow.
gonna drop it in our chat. So there you go.
Can you believe they think this is neutral? This is not political.
Wow.
This shit. This is what they're asking for. And all of them have latent meaning too, by the way. I was actually trained in this shit.
Oh, right. You're asking Muslim women about this right here. I love this, right? With the crosses in the cemetery. That's perfect.
Beginning, middle, and end.
Oh, wow. Wow. And then they're
Exactly.
supposed to, okay. And then you're supposed to come up with a story.
Yes.
But of course, that makes sense because they're saying, but it's God's will. Like, I don't know. It's the story.
And that's
like,
the blank card. You see,
wait.
Well, they didn't. That
Oh,
last, I think that last.
This last one is meant to be.
They don't even.
Oh.
I guess so, or they don't even show the blank
Yeah.
card, which is like.
Oh wow. Wow. That's deep. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's what's up.
But this is so important. Like this understanding of how even when you look at something and you think it's giving you some room to like think about things or imagine things, that people always have to be reminded that everything you're given is still within the constraints of what the system allows, right? And so when we have these conversations and people get mad because, how we not holding Boots Riley down and, like all these things, like this lack of understanding of how constrained we actually are, because everything that is provided via a system that wants us to remain constrained. And so it just never, I don't know, this is another part of like, how do we engage in these conversations so people understand how truly like limited they are, because they are living within a system that wants them to remain limited. So everything is always with that box around you. And, it's funny because Lara, when you were in New Jersey, somebody asked about the intentional use of the word liberation versus freedom. And we talked about it for a little bit, and you had said like, I hadn't really thought it, which I hadn't actually thought of it either. But the other day I was walking with my son, and they've got these effing flags, these 250 years of freedom, right? To which like, I'm still trying to understand who's been free for 250 years, but okay, cool. Like we'll leave that where it is. But it occurred to me as I was really thinking this through, that the reason I don't like the word freedom is because I feel like freedom is something that someone else gives you. And if you have to wait for someone else to give it to you, then it's not actually freedom, right? Like they can always take it away. This is why all these rules and regulations, when people, things go through SCOTUS and the amendments and the Constitution and all these things, like people always have to be remembered that whenever someone gives you something, right, that means they have the ability to also take that thing away from you. And so the word liberation, as I started to really think about it, is something that you take for yourself. Like you liberate yourself, right? You go in with liberation being your precondition. You demand liberation. You know what I mean? Like no one can give you liberation, but they can give you freedom. Which is the thing, like, that's the thing about it that I started to think about, like, could this be why I don't like the word freedom? Because I always feel like when something is free, it's attached to someone else giving you the ability to do whatever thing they're saying they're giving to you for free. So This just what you all just said just made me think of that. So I just wanted to make sure I said it out loud before I forgot. But go ahead, Jay.
Oh, just no, I agree with the point. I mean, there's a lot of good work around, the limits of emancipation as a framework too, and like, but the freedom discourse. We had a conversation with Mahdis Azarmandi recently, and she is a peace studies scholar, right? And she connected in that discussion the discourse around freedom as arising through the Cold War, essentially. And so the freedom, she made an interesting point of that, both peace, well, no, it's peace, but freedom is a parasitic word. Like, so it has to attach itself to something, right? Freedom from what? Right? You can't, there is no freedom without what you are, whatever condition it's attached to. But around the height of the peace movement in the mid of the 20th century was communist, right? It was a peace movement that also supported decolonization, right? But it supported, it was it was against the Korean War, right? Which is an imperialist war of aggression. Would be against the Vietnam War, again, imperialist war of aggression, right? And so it comes out of a decolonial or an anti-colonial kind of movement, the peace, anti-colonial and communist, of allowing countries to operate in opposition to U.S. imperialism and to have the peace, right, to not be under war as a result of trying to take their own developmental path, right, or societal path. And freedom gets attached to it deliberately by the United States and its think tanks, right, to then shift it to say that I think it's theirs as a peace. I can't remember, but basically the point is to be free from authoritarianism, right? Like it becomes this discussion of freedom from, there's a whole discussion around peace and security, and then peace and freedom, essentially. And I have the clip, I can send it to folks from when she breaks this down, because she's doing it much better than I am right now. But the point being that that discourse around freedom largely gets really revamped up in the 20th century, in opposition to communism and anti-colonial movements. And it is so, in some ways, right, freedom is in contrast with liberation, right? Because they're actually looking at liberation as a framework for, coming out of Bandung and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
One of the things I had said about that for me is that it wasn't even a thought for me to use freedom liberation. So when I think it was Leah who asked it, I had to reflect like, oh, what's the sort of, why did I just like not even think about that? But I think it's an allergic reaction to freedom for that reason. Particularly, I mean, given what we're talking about today, the way it's been shoved down our throats in terms of what it actually, is how it's weaponized and mobilized in the world. Post 9/11, of course, has a whole different discourse on this, kind of like what you're saying, Jay. And I just can't, I just can't see that word without thinking about all the ways that empire uses it and has instead, destroyed the entire earth in that for that reason. The other thing for me, I think one of the things that I said that feels important here, particularly to Jared's point of getting like a leftist sort of movement going, is that I'm concerned psychically, and our dear friend Dylan's book is out on pre-order right now. It's Counterinsurgency Machine, and he talks about lexical warfare, that if we're not precise about language, there are ways that there's entire theater of warfare that is played out through language. And for me, when I had the opportunity to think this through, which matched maybe why I was using it, is that liberation feels like a constant struggle, whereas freedom might be misinterpreted as we arrive here and then that's it. And whether or not people actually do that, I think there are ways in which we get captured in that idea of, oh, this is the thing we're vying for. Let's arrive there, which was precisely the whole fucking counterinsurgency of Obama or Mamdani or anything like that. Like, now we got the thing. We're here, despite people saying, we'll keep challenging them to stay true to their promises. It's just like, no, it's a siphon of energy. It takes your energies away and it makes you feel good and stabilizes you for a moment, which I know the world feels destabilizing, and that's why people go to it, but that's why we have to pay attention to how these are counterinsurgent projects, because they're an escape latch for all the energies that could be used to continue struggling. So I think that's another angle or texture.
I mean, if we go with what they're selling, we've already got our freedom and we've had it for 250 years. And so we've already reached the end point. So I guess we can all just shut the channel down.
Yeah, we're only here to celebrate. I don't know what you're talking about.
We could go barbecue something and you know, go enjoy the noise, you know, because
there's you know, it's funny because before conversations about definitions would kind of annoy me, until you add like the spin of like, wait, no, this is like psychological warfare. The way that they're constructing questions and then choosing the exact words is is not by accident. It's on purpose. And I was just really enjoying your discussion of Ghassan Kanafani's interview and how he pushed back on every formation of the question. And it comes off like, I'm sure some people may come off like he's being petty or, you know, just difficult or whatnot, but it's like, no. He's combating the attempt to construct reality and boundaries, right? Which I appreciate. Me and Dr. Ball talked about my appearance on Jubilee and how frustrated I was that I missed certain things, right? Because of that, because exactly what you break down, Lara, about the importance of like, wait, why are you asking what you're asking? And why are you formulating the question with those specific words? And what is your goal and purpose and intent? Not only to the person you're discussing or having a discussion with, but the audience tuning in, right? So like, for example, for freedom, liberation, I had never heard anyone else use this. But again, who I think is a legitimate counterinsurgent propagandist in Hassan Piker, the largest political commentator online, kept using the phrase Palestinian emancipation. And I'm like, who uses emancipation? Like, we're talking about liberation. Like, why is the most prominent individual for young people using this kind of watered down language? But it tracks with the fact that a lot of these so-called anti-Zionist democratic sheepdogs are solely focused on ending the apartheid, of granting people equal rights within the Palestinian state, because they want to see the trajectory of the Zionist project go the way of South Africa and the United States. And so, you know, choosing that language of freedom, emancipation, trying to water down from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Norm Finkelstein was crying about Palestinians will be free, not the land, but the Palestinians will be free to vote and have equal rights within the Zionist project and things like that. When Lara talks about, you know, some of your patients feeling like they're crazy, like that's the way I was feeling, because I kept hearing like these words and I'm like, why are they saying that? There has to be a reason. Are these people getting together and agreeing to push a collective narrative? Or is it kind of osmosis? Is it just the liberal brain rot? What is it that they're all pitching the same bullshit? I mean, I brought up Brad Lanner earlier as a joke, but I was covering how this liberal political commentator, who I thought people were joking because how he looked, but he legit played the lead white boy in The Offspring's Pretty Fly for a White Guy. Right. And now he's a political commentator. I thought people were joking but he literally, it's him. Right. And so that was preposterous. But he was laughing at the fact that you had, you know, these so-called leftists who have this show called Leftist Mafia. So, you know, watch out, be careful, who were excusing why Brad Lanner, despite being a self-described liberal Zionist, is a victory for the Palestinian movement because he's better than Dan Goldman. Yes, this guy. Literally, he is a political commentator now. No joke.
Wow.
This is where we are. Yeah.
No, but this is fair because they're usually it's reserved for Black people who are supposed to have all of our political spokespeople be celebrities and comedians. So this is fair play. It's great to see white folks doing it fine with Hegseth and
Right.
it feels like fair play. Finally,
That feels
parity.
Hey, listen, that feels like representation to me. So I'm not. I'm not.
Exactly. That's perfect. Oh my God.
But even liberals are seeing the charade, the facade, the performance that Rad Libs are playing up and claiming, Palestinian solidarity and claiming anti-Zionism, and they'll call Zionists fascists. They'll call them Nazis. They'll call them, white supremacists. They'll call them everything and still find excuses to align with them. And it's all in manipulating language. And so, like, it might seem at times like you're just being obnoxious, right? And petty and difficult to work with, but it's what they normalize is so effective, and it's all in the language. So that's why from now on, I'll say football and not soccer, just to recognize the significance of that.
Wow. It's important. It's important. I know we're headed towards a wrap in a few minutes, so I'll just encourage everybody who's watching, nice sizable audience, if you just make sure that you support all the platforms represented here, however you see fit, and encourage people to tap in on these conversations, the analyses and the work produced by those on the screen here and beyond. Yeah. Anybody?
Do we
yeah,
want
go
to
ahead,
bring some level? Because so we got some really funny clips from Jerry. Mine were not funny, and I was actually really irritated with the ABC coverage thing that I shared on our little in our email. Although that's your people, Jared, because that was straight out of Maryland. But I do at least think we should enjoy some of the things that are coming out. So Jay had sent a couple of clips, and they're on the run sheet. Jared, I think is Jay's Funnies is the road that I called it.
All right,
but
give me 1 second.
I feel like we've been deep enough that we can
We've been going hard.
We can close out with doing some stuff that at least people can really enjoy. Some of the stuff coming out of this celebration, because Lord,
I think we need to make fun of it. We need to go hard and bully.
Actually, I don't see it on here.
Always bully.
Are you on the
United
right run
States.
sheet? Are you on the Zoho run sheet?
Oh, there.
Here,
it
I
is,
can
there.
drop.
Yeah, I got it. I
There it
got
is.
it.
Okay.
I got it. I got it. I got it.
Huh?
All right. Oh wow. Oh, I did. I saw this one. Hold on. Let me get this here. I saw this one here. All right. Hold on. Here we go. Yes. So, are we setting this up with anything, or we just?
This is just the freedom stage again. Freedom. Here we go. Trump's
With their freedom fries.
Freedom 250. First of all, there's also like no audience to any of this stuff. Like nobody.
Yeah, that is.
Well, I think it's a rehearsal, though. I think it's a rehearsal. That's why.
No. But at the whole thing, I mean, they've been
Yeah.
showing clips of the attend. Nobody's been at this thing, and then they claimed
it's too
yesterday.
damn hot outside.
It's hot, and Republicans also hate fucking DC and Philly and New York. Like they're not.
They're not trying to go
cities.
there.
Exactly.
I thought exactly the same thing. They're not trying to hang out down there. That's where all the communists go for their rallies.
But yeah, it is like 120 degrees or whatever in the heat index or whatever. So this one doesn't have any it doesn't have any audio, but it's just
we don't need it. Skydiver carrying American flag crashes the tent in Folsom rodeo. Wow.
I had to ask whether that was AI, but it is actually something that it did
No,
really happen.
and so the clip that I watched this morning, it was playing. I think the "Proud to Be an American" song was the song that was playing in the background. That
That's
I guess he was
perfect.
like, you can't even make this stuff.
I could do it a cappella if y'all want. I've been practicing.
Go for it, man.
Carlos, we're gonna have to have you on to Tanky Karaoke then.
Yeah, you
I
gotta
am
go on
down for
Lara's,
that. Yeah.
Thank you, karaoke.
Oh man, no, yeah. I did. They claimed yesterday that they shut it down early because of the heat, and they only had to tell like 5 people to go inside. I mean, there was nobody down there. I almost wanted to go down there just to see for myself how empty it was, but I, again, I don't,
But then you'd have to go outside.
Yeah,
it's too hot.
Like,
No, he came out already once this past week for me, which I thank you.
Past my bedtime and everything. So
I won the jackpot.
That's it. What more can be asked of me? So,
but it's good. Let's revel in the failings of empire. It's good to laugh at this shit. It's good to see that they're a clown car. It's good to see that this shit isn't even working on their most diehard jingoists. Except here I did see somebody with a pilgrim hat on and with American flags all around it. So
well, given the specific location, Lara, which I won't reveal, but Lara is in a place that proudly calls itself colonial. Let's just say that.
Lives truly in the belly of the beast.
Keeps me honest every single fucking day.
All right. So
the last thing is, so has everyone seen? Because I didn't drop this in our email because I found it literally as I was doing something else, and I was like, they really have a whole setup for this. Has anyone seen the 250 website that they built? So did I put it? I might have put it. Hold on, let me make sure it's on the run sheet, Jared, so I'm not lying to you. Yes. So the line that is USA, because I always like to be funny on our run sheet. So there's actually like a 250 website that's been set up so that you can, you can watch everything live and figure out where you're going to go to participate in your USA block party. But what I found, right.
And this is an organization, by the way. I mean, like, he and his people are making money off of this. Like, this is not like this. Yeah, like this is just another straight grift from the White House. Yeah.
So this whole thing, right? They have this whole, you can volunteer, but you can also give money. And if you scroll down to the bottom, it shows all of, I don't know if these are organizations that your money is going to support or if they're people who have given, but just looking at the list of the companies, right? So these are the founding sponsors for your freedom, everybody.
If that's not the United States, I don't know what is.
I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. You have companies that are literally poisoning the population. You have companies that don't pay people. You have companies that are like all the things that we should not want anything at all to deal. Like, it's absurd. It's absurd. And I just can't even.
Oh, look at that.
There you go. That's your boy.
Look at that.
That's your boy.
Goodness gracious. He can't help but oh my God, that dude is just, please, everybody, if you haven't, go see Brokish, where John Hope Bryant is exposed as a complete the black version of what happened when dude dipped out on Breonna Joy Gray, because he was like, I gotta go. I gotta go. You two females can't get your thoughts to whatever he would say. Like, you two You two females don't have your intelligence levels high enough on financial literacy for me to keep staying here. I gotta leave. Yeah, that's perfect. Oh my goodness. I did see a CoffeeZilla video the other day where he showed how somehow Trump is managing to profit from a stock market and from a crypto industry that's collapsing.
Oh yeah. Is it ProPublica that just released that report that his companies have like it's like $2 billion or something like that they've made since he just came back in office, like not
just this last time, but specific to the crypto market, they're showing like the whole market is collapsing, and yet he is his crypto whatever has gone up. And CoffeeZilla was asking, like, unless you're a trade exchange who make money off of every trade, how could that be? Unless, I'm not saying there's something untoward happening, but how could that possibly be? So yeah, it's this open grift, and that's why, as we were saying earlier, we have to just bite the bullet and support the DSA in the next election.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We cannot go through another round of.
It's interesting that like Donald Trump has been painted as like this unique crook in the White House, and he's being very blatant with it. But again, shout out to Black Agenda Report and Margaret Kimberly. But she was highlighting how when George Washington was, I forget, I guess in DC in DC, that they had a 6-month essentially status for enslaved people to be able to request their freedom, right? And so George Washington was rotating his slaves from like Virginia to DC before the 6 months. And he documented this, and he was communicating with, other slave owners about, I got to trick and deceive my slaves and the broader public about this and why I'm doing it. So this is a tradition. This has always been the case.
U.S. to the core.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was probably Philly, actually, or the Philly area.
Philly? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the East Coast. It's all the same to me. But yeah.
Well, salute to his to his mother, right? Mary, right? The Ball family and the Ball plantation. Salute. Appreciate that. And always nice to have a connection to George Washington.
Oh, wait, wrong one. See, Dre always sending stuff and then got me all thrown off. Wait, where'd it go? I just want to point this out because I actually said this. Story.
Wow.
After Carlos called us out, I was like, oof. But I don't, so just so everyone knows, I don't know Nick. And so I would obviously would love to be engaged in any conversation.
We could get Nick on. Yeah. You all know and I know Nick at least a little bit. Nick has been on the platform before, but that would have been that's funny.
No, and shout out to Red Nation. I mean, they've been doing a lot of really good stuff.
Oh man.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I've been
follow their work, subscribe.
Yep. The Pretendian joints were my favorite. I'm about to and I went back and even recently watched, because I use it in my classes. I watched their whole Avatar series of discussions too. But yeah. Salute to that whole crew. But yeah, we could do that. We could, because we have to. We be better in our representation.
Hey, listen, as a Chicano nationalist that believes in Aslan and bringing back the ancestral homeland, I'm insulted that my indigeneity is being. No, I'm just kidding. I oppose all that shit, to be very clear. I oppose all that nonsense.
Yeah, Carlos got me, man. Yeah. This political. I know this is an inappropriate joke, but this political not STDs anymore. What you show up in an interview with somebody, and all of a sudden you are bound by all of their other associations. So I keep getting these emails, and I've caused a few and others, but I get these emails, and Carlos is one of the complaints has been this stance of yours, this Chicano nationalism and equating it to Zionism. Man, they're like, man, you got to stop messing. And as soon as I get an email saying stop messing with somebody, I pop up on a live with them. That's how I respond to it. Like, don't try to police me, God damn it. If I'll be
brief. Yeah, I'll be brief. This is not an easy position to take in the LA area, Southern California. It's not an easy one. But you know what Lara was talking about earlier about kind of this American identity. Like, I'm first generation. I had to shave that thing off. You know, I remember being told not to speak Spanish and all this stuff in Southern California, right? I was literally in like a Mexican grocery store and my family got harassed for speaking Spanish. Like, it makes no sense, even in Southern California, right? And so don't get me wrong, when you abandon the American identity, the easiest thing to latch onto is Chicanismo and to embrace this whole concept of Aztlán. And the minute that you take a brief moment to look into Mexican history and New Spain and the Spanish colonization, and you realize, wait a minute, there's indigenous people living there that doesn't belong to the Chicano's ancestor because the Aztec came from the north and whatever bullshit. And you actually like listen to indigenous people there that have been erased, the so-called Indio Bravos that were never ceased going at it with the Spanish. They never stopped fighting the Spanish. They never stopped fighting, you know, the English. And to erase them or to lay claim to their land in any fucking way is fucking Zionist. You don't get a fucking pass. So I've dealt with this. I've squared up with fools, especially OGs. I think that they're like, that they were revolutionaries, that they were the fucking reincarnation of Che. I can't stand these fucking people. I've been in organizations that have been harassed by them. So I'm cool with it. And I knew you were going to, anyone, look, I'm flattered. But at the end of the day, if you're claiming land that isn't yours, you're a fucking colonizer. I don't give a shit what color your skin is. It's that simple.
All I said was send me the literature.
People. Fuck the fourth.
Yeah, fuck the fourth. Send the literature. Yeah, that's it. Right on. No, thank you all very much. This was a great idea. We should do this more often. This was dope.
Listen, all shout out to Lara. This was all, you know, I take credit whenever I earn it, but this was definitely Lara's idea, and I appreciate that, you know, when you thought of it, that you thought of us and sharing the time. I could not think of a better way to manage these last 2 hours than to be joined by all of you, and this has been great, and I'm sure the comment section is going to be hysterical at some point. We did get some love, Jared. I just want to make sure we don't forget. So Guillermo Munez, thank you. What an handsome, awesome panel. All the love. Thank you so much. More, another $1.99. Thank you for that. Hershey, speaking of Obama and neutering, he was called in, I believe, to calm athletes down anytime it appeared they were getting too revolutionary. Absolutely, because it is he that made the call when the NBA had the audacity to even consider doing something. So, you know, there we go.
And speaking of language, they kept trying to call it a boycott and not use the word strike. I remember that vividly. They didn't want to do that. So, Yep. Dork, thank you for the $4.99. Thanks for being a bright spot today and every day. And then I don't know what this means, this little symbol here. I don't know what that is. Is that does anybody know what that is? But
you'll find out.
Standing ovation for Lara.
In a few days, I
guess we'll know exactly what that means.
So what that is.
500 something.
So, yeah, and then you know,
is that not yet?
I just want to make a comment on that the U.S. empire, like all other empires, is temporary, but Wu-Tang is forever.
Hey, that's the way to end.
Always. That's the way to end. I appreciate y'all.
All right, peace, everybody. Wu-Tang forever.
Black Liberation Media is a collective of Black and African organizers, journalists, academics, and media personalities serving Black and African masses seeking to further grow in their understanding of themselves, their histories, and the African world through entertainment and news. Please continue to like, subscribe, and donate to the channel so we can further serve you and liberate our people. You can also go to blkliberationmedia.org, get some merchandise, and also become a Patreon member and a member from the YouTube. Please do what you can, share, and show your love. as we will show ours for you. Black Liberation Media.